We come here to make just a few points before the proceedings today. And we'll first start with the matters of today. Let us be clear. Trayvon's family does not feel that his school records are relevant in any way. It is wrong to subpoena his records on so many levels from middle school and high school. It is very offensive to them. But if the court sees fit to release Trayvon's school records, we demand that George Zimmerman's medical records be released because they are far more relevant as to why he shot and killed Trayvon Martin on February 26. Now, they will address you in a few minutes on that issue and this issue because that is a decision beyond their control. They can't do anything about the court's decision, so they want to focus on things that they can do. They are a family that is just waiting on the court system, and they're waiting, and they're waiting. And so instead of just sitting idly by doing nothing, they are trying to preserve their son's legacy the best way they know how. And so they are here to talk to you today also about the Change for Trayvon committee that was started to put forth Trayvon Martin amendment to the Stand Your Ground laws across America. And they will go to state legislators across America to present the Trayvon Martin amendment of the Stand Your Ground law, which is preference on this basic premise that you cannot be the aggressor, you cannot be the agitator, you cannot go start the fight and then claim stand your ground. It was self-defense. That's not common sense. And they are not against the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms, but they are for responsible gun laws. And we invite anybody to sit down with us to try to make responsible gun laws that will be good for all our communities. Whether it be the gun lobby or any governmental entity, we invite them to sit down so we can try to make these laws better. Now you will hear from Ms. Sabrina Fulton, Trayvon's mother, and then Mr. Tracy Martin, Trayvon's father, and then Attorney Parks will make some comments and we'll try to answer some of your questions. Ms. Sabrina Fulton.
I hope you all have not forgotten about my son, because I certainly have not forgotten about him. It's important to remember that Trayvon was a minor. He had just turned 17 years old. He was just a kid up against a grown adult. So it's very difficult. That's the reason why we created and we have supported the Change for Trayvon committee, which we will draft legislation so that we can take to the legislators so that they can support us, because we definitely need to change these laws. We need to revise these laws. I'm a mother, and I'm just asking any mother that has a son to support me. Please go to the website and please support us with this effort.
Mr. Tracy Martin.
Good afternoon. First, I'd just like to say that Trayvon was the victim. And I think it's wrong that we attack the victim. And I just feel that as human beings, that our first priority shouldn't be to assassinate the character of the victims and make dead children seems as though they're the perpetrator. I feel that Trayvon school records are not relevant in this case. I feel that George Zimmerman's medical records are very relevant to the case. Trayvon is dead, and there's nothing that we can do to bring him back. I just feel as though I ask that all the mothers, all the daughters, the sons, the fathers, the uncles, the aunts, the brothers, the sisters, I ask that you join us in our efforts in becoming ambassadors or becoming spokespersons for change for Trayvon. We feel as though together we can make a difference. So we ask that you visit Change for Trayvon and assist us in becoming spokesmen for Change for Trayvon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, really important that you all understand the position that we really hope and believe that this court today will not be inclined to release Trayvon's school records for the simple fact that it's just not right that the victim's whole life be put on trial when the only issue is what happened the night of this particular situation. Secondly, on behalf of Trayvon's parents, the Change for Trayvon Foundation, changefortrayvon.com, is so important to anyone out there who wants to assist and be an agent of change for these stand your ground laws. Please go to changefortrayvon.com. It's a very important part of their advocacy to try and change this law that has been so controversial and so detrimental in this case.
Also, please note that Tracy and Sabrina came here today so everybody will understand that this is important to them, that their son is the victim. And this is the old classic method of attacking the victim. It's nothing different from when you attack a rape victim for saying, oh, look at their conduct in the past, or look what they were wearing. It is no different. And we cannot be distracted what the crux of the matter is in this case. And that is that George Zimmerman, for whatever reasons, profiled, made a conscious decision to get out of his car and pursue Trayvon, who was unarmed, and shot him in the heart. And Trayvon is not here to tell us his version. So why is it relevant about his school records or his Facebook page? George Zimmerman knew none of that on February 26 when he claimed Trayvon's life. And we'll take a few questions. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Crump, with all due respect, I have to play devil's advocate here.
Please.
What is it in Trayvon Martin's school records that you don't want to get out? Is there something in there that could...
Thank you for that question. It is absolutely nothing that we find relevant in Trayvon's school record. We just think it is a terrible precedent to set that a dead child's school records is now berated by his murderer as justification for his killing. And that is, it's a very principled matter here, because this is a slippery slope. So this precedent that we're setting now, if they kill your unarmed child, they then get to say, well, let's look at his school records. Let's look at his Facebook page. Let's look at anything we can to attack his character. Never mind that he didn't even know who your child was the night of February 26th. And so, again, if the judge in the court see fit to release his records, that's beyond our control. But we demand George Zimmerman medical records be released because they are far more relevant in this matter. Trayvon's confidential school records are not relevant, but if his confidential school records are going to be released, George Zimmerman's confidential medical records should be released.
Should George Zimmerman's social media posts prior to the shooting be part of this case?
You know, I think that the clear thing on that there is when Mark O'Mara got in the case, one of the first things he did was took down his social media page. And that's what he did. And so the big difference here is that George Zimmerman can authenticate whether that was his postings or not. As we have said all along in this case, Trayvon Martin is not here to give you his version on any issue because George Zimmerman shot and killed him on February 26th. So there is no way we can say if this was a real posting or was this something that he retweeted or something that somebody posted for him. We all know about the bogus pictures that they put up saying that it was Trayvon in the bogus Twitter account. So it's no way to authenticate that. But that leads us away from the crux of the matter. It's what happened on February 26th that is relevant. Are we to go back and get his baby records now?
But you're saying that applies to George Zimmerman too. Anything before the 26th is irrelevant.
You know what I'm saying? That we can authenticate it, and the court is going to decide what's relevant or not. We don't think his school records are relevant. We don't think George Zimmerman's school records are relevant. And it is what happened on February 26th. The medical records are relevant because we want to know what was he diagnosed with, what drugs was in his system that made him do the things he did on February 26th. And we're not asking for anything extraordinary here. If this was your child who had been shot and killed, wouldn't you want to know? You know, when people get in car accidents, we test them with a drug and alcohol analysis because that's the basis that you want to know if there are any drugs that influence their judgment or their decision making. When you shoot an unarmed kid in the heart, isn't that the basic thing to do to make sure we know what drugs was in his system, what drugs he had been prescribed, and why?
Mr. Crump, in light of the state's new motion for a gag order today, number one, do you hope Judge Nelson grants it? And do you agree with the prosecutors that potentially Mr. O'Mara is prohibiting a fair and impartial jury from being found and seated?
We have no opinion on that issue at this time.
If the judge does grant the gag order, if that's heard today, will you all commit to...
I can answer that even before you get it out. We will stand by any ruling of the court. Sabrina Fulton and Tracy Martin and their family have said all along they will respect the rule of law. They are not telling people to take the law into their own hands, nor are they trying to take the law into their own hands. They are only trying to get simple justice for their child. And think about it from their perspective. They are trying to have so much patience and so much faith in their system. I applaud them. I don't know how many parents can have their child killed in this manner and have the patience and the faith in the court system. Could you?
Mr. Crump, with a June trial date, would you like to see that come earlier?
Again, you know, the wait for justice is always a terrible thing to any family whose loved one is a victim of a senseless crime. So the wait is almost as agonizing as the crime itself. You know, but all they can do is pray. They can't control any of this stuff. So that's why they're doing change for Trayvon and what they can do so they don't go into a state of depression and, you know, just disbelief over this unimaginable loss and the unimaginable things they got to do to try to hold the killer accountable for what happened. Thank you.
This one.